starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi all and welcome to the first show of the year of the new Blueprint show. And what was, or what is, the one-on-one with the one day. Turned out somewhat half-hearted, but nevertheless we're still here. And the fight goes on. This is the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. My name's Thomas Williams. Enjoy the show. Right, let's get into this first Blueprint show of the year. And first things off, I want to say thanks to Ovi for turning on the show. We don't give him enough thanks. He has to stay up until the early hours of the morning to turn the show on for you on thi-show.com. So thanks to him. That song was called Humankind. And this is what this show's all about, really. But given it's the first of the year, perhaps we should split that word up. Human and kind. And maybe we all make an effort this year to be kinder to each other. Can't be called humankind when people just don't be nice to each other. So let's start off the year with people learning to be kind, to then become humankind. Right. The Blueprint Action Group report for the week ending the 7th of January 2024. And as we move into 2024, it will be helpful for the Blueprint Action Group to set up some guiding principles so we can improve how we all work together, prepare ourselves for future activities and demonstrate behaviours of self-responsibility and holding ourselves accountable for our actions. Now, we intend to schedule an agenda item to have this conversation at the next Zoom to define some guidelines and improve how we collaborate. And we want to encourage all participants to find their voice, speak up, share their ideas and also contribute. As individuals and also as a group, we must exemplify the behaviours we are promoting in the Guardian section of the Blueprint. And this will inspire others to join us and improve themselves in the process. And people are drawn to what adds value to their lives. And working with the Blueprint team should be aspirational and bringing the best out in all of us. Riding on the high frequency energy waves and also manifesting a better world for the all. Hear, hear. The Books team report. The holidays, illness and family and personal matters have put a damper on the team's work of late, but we are progressing nonetheless and our efforts are picking up again in the new year. And to recap, the Bulgarian translator is working on volume 2 of From His Story to Our Story and spreading the seed of the books by sharing it with others through the media team's videos on LinkedIn and also through discussions with local influencers. In the meantime, the Divine Masculine and Feminine booklet and also the consent booklet have been sent to the Dutch translator. And the Dutch translator of the Blueprint is in the proofreading stage and will be sent for formatting as soon as that is completed. A Swedish translator is working on the Blueprint and the Hebrew translator is working on the consent and also the Divine Masculine and Feminine booklets. A new proofreading technique is being tried out by the German translator and corrections are being made to the German Divine Masculine and Feminine booklet. Work on His Story to Our Story Volume 4, and the new series is in its initial stages. And translators are working with the media team to translate memes to their respective languages. Fantastic stuff. The media team report. They report that they are back to normal after the holiday season and are eager to get back to their usual format. We have had a wonderful 2023 and hope to make improvements and expand our repertoire and our knowledge to make a bigger difference in the coming year. What we manifest and where we go is even more important now. We have reviewed the accounts over the holidays, and while they are growing the reach, it is not where we would like it to be currently. And so we are discussing ways to get the THI name and blueprint out to more people. We appreciate our followers and thank them for the help they have given us by liking and sharing the memes, and hope it will continue as it really helps us to get seen. And we are pleased to announce that we have a new addition to the team, and her role will be to run the Twitter account for the blueprint. We are looking forward to working with the new addition to the team and thank her very much for having the courage to come forward. This year, more than ever, we really need to push the blueprint far and wide. The year-end shows really made it clear that we are the power, and it is our time now to step up more. To turn the narrative to one that highlights our solutions, our ethos of caring and sharing, need not greed, and cooperative, not comparative or competitive. What we manifest and how that is created by us is even more important now, and the media team will endeavour to make a difference for humanity and the all. Great stuff. The youth website next. Draft documents have been completed for the 5 action guide solutions chosen by the team that are most relevant to youth and are now being turned into multimedia videos. And these are the law and consent, job and housing security, race and gender issues, food and sustainability, and also climate change. And they have approached several youths who are interested so that they can, or for them to tell us your story, and also tell our vision videos for the website, and we await what they create. 2 youths have expressed interest in joining the You Think Different team to contribute to the content on the youth website. One is a graphic designer and a content creator, and the other is a blog writer. Good stuff. And both have been responding well to the THI content and the key THI themes. The Divine Masculine and Divine Feminine youth-based content. We hope to include that women and men, both masculine and feminine sides. I think it's a bit off. We hope to include both that men and women have both masculine and feminine sides. And much confusion can arise from having feelings and interests associated with the opposite sex when youth are not aware of this. Integration of the masculine and feminine are important to both sexes, and utilising archetypes to help illustrate concepts to youth was mentioned as a way for youth to relate to the presented material. The idea to have a THI members Guardians of the Galaxy-like image created, such as the tiny man with a big head, microphone and cigar. Yes, you, they said. Who, me? Me? I'm just the tiny man. I keep telling you that, but you don't listen. A universal lawman, to tell the bold truth, and many more inspiring guardians. Now, the initial site videos we hope will spark the youth to make their own videos to add to the website, creating content for change, and the approval process to be developed over this year. The Living Library section of the website for members to give wisdom, support and guidance to youth going through challenges from their own subjective experiences. And this may be a good place to have content and or discussion groups on the hooks, family separation, shadow work, self-mastery, limiting beliefs and more. And this could also incorporate the famous Thomas N pieces such as What is Love, What is Value, What is Time, to name but a few. Now, once the website is live, it will become clearer what the youth want, and we can further grow the website pages, incorporating Q&A and external links sections in time. Fun facts and common sense clips could also add an element of humour to open the heart and mind of the youth while remaining light and funny. As we know, Thomas is a bit of a joker. Who, me? And the system, as we all know, is full of clowns. Indeed. The web team. The beginning of 24 is going to be another busy period for the web team, and work is going well on the new Blueprint Forum, which will be our MeWe replacement. So what has been announced there is we're in the works for replacing all of the MeWe side groups and transferring it to the Blueprint website, and eventually transferring over the MeWe chat over to the Blueprint Forum website as well. At that point, we can leave their social media. Now, we know that MeWe has recently rolled out some changes which force some of our members to register with the new social web. And this is related to the digital identity that entities like the European Union want to implement for various globalist agendas. And we do not wish to be a part of this social web, nor have a universal handle, hence why we are creating our own forum and thus creating our own path forward. We have invested in additional web and cloud infrastructure to facilitate this move, and we will be making an announcement to launch this Blueprint Forum very soon. Now, 2023 was busy with various web and IT initiatives. So now is the right time to review and reassess the work we have done, are doing and will need to do. And with the limited time and resources we had last year, we had to prioritise and choose what we work on, whilst at times being aware there are other administration tasks or technical initiatives which are also important and require our attention, but we could not progress them enough or at all. Now, to address this and build on the success of previous years, we're also going to focus on expanding the team, and in fact we have already had some progress in this respect. And they say they want to thank the people who have stepped up and offered their help. And they also said if you are passionate about making a difference, learning and developing yourself, please reach out to us and join us. Now, this is the current list of emails that were sent out in January from the website and via the web team. 1. Kim Johnson, an MP, House of Commons, London, who was sanctioned for criticising Israeli's government as fascist. Funny how you can be sanctioned for telling the truth these days. 2. Elizabeth Lee Vallette, MD, head of Vive Life Center in Tucson, Arizona. 3. Fidel Zizan, UC San Diego campus, associate professor of anesthesiology. 4. Don Peebles of the Peebles Corporation, who's said to be an important influencer, and I know he's a billionaire, and maybe he can help somehow. Maybe he's panicking for his own skin like many others. Anyway, 5. Dr. Arthur Kaplan, PhD in Medical Ethics, NYU Langone Health, is an academic medical center located in New York. 6. Wojciech Solarz, Polish Academy of Science. I've no doubt I'll be pulled up for not pronouncing that properly, but there you go. 7. Dr. Matthew Schrag, Vanderbilt University Medical Center, Tennessee. 8. Maxime Bernier, Canadian politician, People's Party of Canada. 9. Julian Evans Pritchard, head of Capital Economics in the UK. 10. Sean D. Reyes, Attorney General, Utah, part of a lawsuit against BlackRock, which is now the Federal Reserve, as you will know. 11. Shelley Hughes, Alaskan Republican Senator. 12. Greg Speed, America Votes Georgia, at America Votes National Headquarters. 13. Dr. Rainer Fulmich, French activist proving world leaders' crime against humanity regarding COVID. Now, we did get a response from his team, but currently he's in jail being held against his will, we were informed. 14. Christine Anderson, MP Germany, EU German member of the EU Parliament, who says Trudeau is a disgrace. Just a disgrace. 15. John Clarence, the author of The Nos Gold. 16. Cheryl Atkinson, reporter who exposed or did exposés on scientists collecting dollars due to the 1984 Bayh-Dole Act and getting royalties for discoveries they made while working on the public's dime. 17. Catherine McKinnell, MP, who quizzed Rishi Sunak, the UK Premier, on the logic behind doubling a bonus for childminders who use an agency to sign up, all whilst Mr. Rishi's wife is a shareholder in the said childcare agencies. 18. Nicole Neely, Parents Defending Education, who quoted Roberta Steinbach and said, "As a mother, I am the expert of my children." Great stuff. The Law Group update next. And we are kicking off 2024 with the first Teach Back Zoom, which is scheduled for Sunday, January the 28th at noon EST. And details to be posted on the Law Group main MeWe page. Our first topic will be the true rule of law and natural rights. And we will soon be posting study material connected to that. And participants are expected to read through the material and come prepared to talk for 5 to 10 minutes each and share their understanding of the subject matter and what they have learned. So pick up the material, you'll have to study it, and then you're going to do a speech. Otherwise, I'm going to come in and make you. Don't pick me, don't pick me. It's bad enough on the common sense, never mind the Law Group. We highly recommend participants purchase the Ucadia Covenant of One Heaven from Amazon, as his will become our main reference material as we move forward. Now, the book does cost around $100 and the law team said, we are aware some are put off by the price. However, a price cannot be defined for the knowledge that will help us develop full competence in law and know what it means to be a guardian and sovereign of our heart, mind, body and spirit. The 28th of January Zoom is designed for those who have attended the Intro to Law series that was delivered in 2022 and 2023. And the idea is to encourage folks to think critically, go deeper and build on the foundational knowledge that has been learned to date. We will be scheduling a 2024 Intro to Law series in the near future that is designed for new members in the law group. And we recommend newer members scroll through the main page and watch or listen to the multiple videos and podcasts that has been shared, as well as familiarise themselves with the materials stored in the Files Foundation Ucadia University MeWe section prior to attending these Zooms. So the law group has a separate MeWe page. That's not the main MeWe page. And if you're struggling to find it, just message Roger Isaacs on MeWe. The European Blueprint Team Report. TPC Europe will start this month with our meetings about adjusting the blueprint for Europe, with several solutions being worked on by different volunteers. And we have been collecting the names of possible people and organisations that we would like to send the blueprint to. There is an initiative by members in Holland to visit a book presentation by a well-known Dutch writer, and the book is called The Biggest Revolution of All Times. Good idea. Now, there will be lectures by several writers who have been investigating and written books about the truth. And we will bring copies of the blueprint to hand out to the writers and hope to make a connection with them. Good idea. Open discussion topics and questions. We began the meeting by declaring our intentions of what we want to manifest and how we intend to do that. Then included what actions we will take to ensure that happens. Some members declared their intention to bring balance into their daily actions and within the groups. For some, it was to become a role model for the blueprint. And words like bringing cohesiveness and creativity to a new level. For others, it was more about making connections, stability, attraction and exploring. And here is one of the members' intentions for the year to give an example of the kind of things we proclaimed. My intention to work on blocks and resistance to free up my energy and maintain a more balanced frequency. To become more of my true self and to connect with like-hearted people and expand the frequency of the blueprint. Connecting with others through outreach and providing balance as people discover the blueprint. And they want to thank all those that showed up and were ready to take part in these proclamations. Stating our intentions is a powerful way to manifest. It is also a commitment towards taking responsibility for what we intend and want to work on and with. And we will walk forward this year with a stronger foundation, a new level of awareness and a heartfelt commitment to the blueprint, the groups, each other, and indeed ourselves. Overview. There was much excitement and joy during our first meeting of the year, with the beginning of the meeting opening with a powerful statement spoken by the members, all renewing their commitment and vision for what is to come. Also, all especially essential elements that will bear the fruits of our labour. It was also a reflection of the growth achieved last year and indicative of the type of people that THI attracts. There can be no change without the people's input, that not only want it, but are willing to roll up their sleeves and do what is required. There is nothing that cannot be created when life force comes together to connect the thought waves of the many. Indeed, Thomas has stated previously that nothing can be created that does not already exist, which is all a bit mind-blowing. And with that in mind, are we then just instruments that are being inspired by the existence of something our hearts have been longing for, remembering and tapping into? If so, is our job to just remember, integrate it, and it will manifest? Or is there something else needed, like the actions we do or more? The heart is a portal to where and what? Maybe the new world already exists. Are we just the guardians in the stages of remembrance that are co-creating the vision to life? And it's all worth a ponder. Maybe you have your own thoughts on it. After all, it would take more than just one to bring all the possibilities to the fore. Defining our roles becomes the stepping stone to becoming the archetype, whether it's the guardian, the divine feminine or masculine role, or indeed all of these things and more. It needs all the tools and understanding to be what and who you are. And within creating the blueprint for Humanity Group, it has become interwoven with the greater understanding brought to us through the shows and the books via Thomas. He brought about the awakening of the greater consciousness that is now manifesting through the people for the people. We are not zeros and ones, as we as the members of the Blueprint teams will endeavour to bear the fruits of all the great learnings and bringing the solutions to life. Never underestimate the power of one man, and when one becomes many, there is no thing that cannot be manifested to life. With the window of opportunity open to us now, more than ever we strive for more, for bigger and better things. With open hearts, endeavour and perseverance to be better than last year. To be open to all opportunities, open doors, and with a greater merging of minds and hearts in 2024. And it's all fantastic stuff again, and it is encouraging to see you all develop and align. But there's something I wish to bring up is, as all of the teams are and have stated, they need more help. And one member suggested, correctly I might add, if these were all paid positions, more would step up. Now that has always been the thinking amongst people, and it does have overtones of service to self. But service to self has become the culture, born from the programs, and as Kevin pointed out, the survival mode program. There is or there never is enough, so I must grab what I can for myself. And this plays out in times of deep struggle. Shops get looted and or people hoarding. And we saw poor examples of this during COVID, people fighting over toilet paper, which is fitting in many ways, as if you're going to be a shit, then you will need more toilet paper to wipe yourself. And it becomes all about perspective again, doesn't it? Because you all forgot in the Western countries, most of us live like kings and queens when in comparison to 85% of the rest of the world. Most of you who listen to this show are in the top 10 to 15% wealth bracket of the world. But I haven't got much, many will say or think now, but you do compared to the rest of the world. We all have the 5 basics in life, something not afforded to many billions around the world today. But scarcity also, if you overview it and not immerse in it, can bring advantages to a piece we did last year called What is Value? If you have less, you value more, do you not? And you should recognise the value of what you have more, whether within scarcity or not. Now back to being paid. I am reminded of a discussion with the trustee around 2018 after I overviewed THI and also the trust. And I said to the trustee, who was frustrated at the lack of participation in some aspects, is it not the case that the trust money is in essence a bribe to get people to do something? And after pondering, she agreed. And therein lies the problem in overview, does it not? That the love of money overcomes the love of life. And make no mistake, we have all been afflicted by that program, me included. But often in the alt media, people talk of alternative lifestyles, growing their own and living off the grid, etc., living like the rings of cedar. And yet Anastasia lived off of no money. And how many are really prepared to do that? And the answer is very few. Although a village in Bulgaria posted recently in the chat showed the way to achieve that. But again, is it contradictory in overview? When people talk about their status and earning poverty wages, but just $33,000 a year for a single person in America puts you in the middle class bracket. And the problem is the competitive and comparison game. There will always be people who earn more than you. But are they happier than you? And do they have to spend more than you? And so 30 to 40,000 a year will not go far in the harvesting centres of New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Miami or Denver. But in 80% of other places in America, it goes further than you need. And it's all about perspective and not being comparative. Higher wages is required to live in or around those harvesting centres. Everywhere else, you don't need it. And so would being paid help people to join the blueprint? Absolutely. But in overview, that is a sad fact. But, and there's a big but, you didn't think deep enough, did you? You do realise you are being paid to work on the blueprint. But we're not getting any money, Thomas. Correct. But money is life force energy. And those of you involved in the work of the blueprints are receiving much more back in terms of energy and growth than pieces of paper with numbers on will ever do. Just like the mother receives life force energy from the father then receives life force energy from the cosmos, and the circle of life energy growth spirals in a clockwise motion. Non-thinking equals not being paid. Thinking higher means you are being paid way more than you think. Here's a question for you all. How much money would it cost to become a god or a goddess? How much life force energy would you gain becoming a god or a goddess? And for those new, becoming a god or goddess means you have developed enough soul growth on the planetary level to advance to a higher evolved species. But being paid with money equals payback and is an exchange of two people or groups. But paying it forward via life force energy is unlimited. And so you are paid back every time you help, support, or do. And recognize that as a fact is then understanding more of what is life and what is value. The most precious resource in the universe was not money, which is an Orion-based control system, but you, all of you. They told you that in Jupiter Ascendant. Entities fighting over our life force essence. And once you fully understand that, you will realize money is a poor substitute for your own life force energy. Because life force energy is the money. Now, don't get me wrong, we all need it in the current system. But does it have to consume most of your life force energy each week to attain it? Because in overview, money stifles growth. It aids service to self, it encourages greed, it encourages non-thinking and creates comparison and competitive games. But life force energy growth leads to multiple abilities, manifestation, travelling beyond the stars, engagement with other beings, personal responsibility, access to the library of all knowledge, access to the true love frequencies, wisdom, and the ability to fly, and so much more. So the answer to the question, are you being paid? You bet you are. But do you see? Well, that was some good stuff, and I hope you enjoyed the perspective on the last piece of money and being paid, and the difference between pieces of paper with numbers on. Like I said, we all need it in the current system, but it shouldn't never ever replace life force energy. Here is the second part of what is time. Now, there is another word for time called Kaal, K-A-A-L, and it represents time and death in Sanskrit, and that letter K again, and also related to India, Hindu, Jainism and Buddhism, all of which we covered in No Great Light in the From His Story to Our Story series. But it is also transferred into different spellings, which is also a common theme to Kala, K-A-L-A, which is also the name of a deity in which sense it is not always distinguishable from Kala, meaning black. And so there are two words with the same spelling of Kala. One means time and death, and the other means black. But change one letter again from Kala to Kali, and that means dark, which is black. It is all one and the same thing. The Kali Ma worship in India and other places is the Dark Mother. Some call it the Black Madonna, associated with the moon cult worship, and Lilith. Lilith was the Eve in at least one of the 6 civilizations of man. But man or Adam never stood a chance, with 2 serpents in the garden just there to seduce him onto a wrong path. And it is often used as one of the various names or forms of Yama. Yama was also known as the deity of death and related to the underworld. Yama, a wrathful god or enlightened protector of Buddhism that is considered worldly and said to judge the dead and preside over the Narakas, the hell or purgatory, and the cycle of rebirth. All of which sounds like the Greek mythology of Hades and the underworld. It is same people or beings, different epochs of time, different bodies, but the same entity. But judging the dead and the Egyptian version was the Pleiadian Thoth with his heart and feather justice system. Now, Kala is another of the Hindu multi-armed beings. And again, unless people are deformed, humans don't have multi-arms. And do people not see something radically wrong with this portrayal? Freaks of nature venerated. But if only as many people were as kind to the disabled nowadays. And the answer is, we're not. And yet the religious cult elements celebrate and venerate all kinds of freaks of nature. And they all wait for the God to return, and yet your real God has never appeared in physical form ever. Your God or source does not have a physical body, and it never wrote books either. And in reality, people only love God or gods when they have failed to remember their own connection to source. Now, Yama only holds transitional places in hell, where he oversaw the deceased before he and the generals of 5 paths were assigned a course of rebirth. And so the Yama named Kala or Kal holds transitional places in hell, and they are attributed to both time and also death. And maybe where there is time, there is death, or where there is time, there is hell, or maybe time is both. And these are the gods who are the ones who imposed time on us all. Now the Romans equated Kronos with Saturn, who also had a sickle and was treated as an old man, often with a crutch. Time, death and hell all linked with Saturn as well, and a sickle shaped like a crescent moon, just like the Muslim religion and the Red Army. And perhaps the Saturn Moon matrix makes more sense now also. The wings and hourglass were early Renaissance additions, and he eventually became a companion of the Grim Reaper, personification of death, often taking his scythe. He may have as an attribute a snake with a tail in its mouth, which is an ancient Egyptian symbol of eternity. Not quite. And so the Ouroboros is also Egyptian. The eternity symbol is also known as the Mobius loop, another humanity and planetary-based trap, like time. The Titans' greatest benefaction for humanity seems to have been saving them from complete destruction, and in an apparent twist on the myth of the so-called 5 ages of man found in Hesiod's works and days, wherein Cronus and later Zeus created and destroyed 5 successive races of humanity. And Prometheus asserts that Zeus had wanted to obliterate the human race altogether, but that somehow he stopped him. Now, not all Titans were bad, and not all Olympians were bad either. There were elements in both groups that didn't go along with the rape and harvesting of humanity, and some tried to save man. But his story goes to the victors, and humanity has lost every war until now. And this time we went past the latest catastrophic civilization-ending event in 2012, and we have an opportunity to chart a better and more peaceful path, and that is down to us all. Now, in the Orphic tradition, the unaging Kronos was engendered by earth and water and produced ether and chaos, and also an egg. Now, Kronos had no parents and just appeared. Oh dear, only in religion. Maybe from the mists of time, and time has certainly produced chaos in the egg, which is the cosmos. But if time was linear, how can Kronos be unaging? But if Kronos and time just appeared from nowhere, perhaps Kronos was an AI. AI became time, and time became the god of our system, which means our god here is an artificial intelligence. But if you do time, it means to serve a prison sentence. Time is also a limitation program, and time, they say, means a limited space of time. But it could also be a limited time of space as well as limited space-time. And when you ponder on that, this piece makes a whole lot of sense. Inception, an act, process, or instance of beginning, but from the beginning of time became our sentence of doing time for the benefit of the dark forces. Step outside of time, and it all ends. Now, we have explained in the past the Mobius loops and how they did it. That wrapped humanity, other beings on this planet, into a perpetual harvest and loops that played the movie Groundhog Day over and over for 78,000 years. Now, for visual terms, it is like the egg timer, as the sands of time pass through. And with an egg timer, when it first starts, it begins to filter through slowly, but as it gets lower down the top vortex and near the twist, which is the void where all and nothing exists, it begins to speed up. Now, we are near that void now, and it is why time is now appearing to speed up. Now, the key to the void is, which brings in the 3 days of darkness or 10 days, has as some have prophesied, is when in the void you turn on your light or beacon. It is the darkness before the dawn until you turn on your own sun and light the way. But what does he mean, your own sun? As above, so below, as within, and so without is the meaning of that. And essentially, as you started the egg timer, a sequence of events at the beginning would take, say, 1.5 million years. The next ring, say, 1 million years. And all those sequence of events that took place in the 1.5 million year time span would now take place within the 1 year time span. So it looked like everything was speeding up. And so as you go through the rings, the events that took place globally and in sequence is now unfolding in a shorter and shorter time span. And I first warned of this back in 2017, that the following years would feel like time has sped up and that time would make less sense. Now the egg timer visual just happens to be the same as the Earth energy cycle grid. An open funnel at the top and narrowing at what is known as the void, the singularity or the twist, the gate or gatekeeper, which I will explain later. But as above, so below, and so below the narrow funnel on the northern hemisphere at the equator, there is a narrow funnel that gradually gets wider to an open funnel to the southern hemisphere. A torus pattern replicated within you and also the sun. And so if Earth has an inbuilt egg timer shape, which is a vortex either side of the equator, in life, earth and space, you will always find the repeating patterns. Find the patterns and it always repeats. And so this brings us to stage 2, the Earth itself being in a vortex or a torus within its own time-space. That is not fixed, as our calendar year has changed at least 4 times in the past. Starting out at 13 months of 20 days and a year span of 260 days. And in the past, the final date was December 21st and the year started in March. Not January, and the evidence of which is the months September through December are all named after numbers. Sept through December is 7, 8, 9 and 10 months, which means it started in March. September is now the 9th month. And our calendar and year, of course, is now 365 and a quarter days per year. And the quarter every 4 years creates a leap year and added on to the end of February. But back to the egg timer, and as the sand drops from the top and spirals towards the void, if you are in the sand falling, the east is on the left and the west is on the right. But what happens if you flip the egg timer back up? With you in the sand from the bottom, now right side up, east is on the right and west is on the left. And could this possibly be explained by pole shifts in the past? What about the talk of the sun rising in the west and not the east in the past also? And what if it happened every 13,000 years, or maybe the 26,000 year cycle, which is actually 25,920 and 12,960. The way out is east. Where to is what you all need to find out. but the west is back into the loop again and a repeat cycle. And so what if every 13,000 years they revolved the vortex in Taurus, and what was north now became south and vice versa? What was on the left is now on the right, and the west gate becomes the popular and only path to take. Now, as I understand it, this planet and system has been in 6 loops, and each loop is 13,000 years, which is the top half of the egg timer or vortex, which is also the half cycle of the Mayan calendar. And if you do 6 loops of 13,000 years, then you come to the figure I mentioned earlier, which is 78,000 years. But is it a coincidence that the minimum time to create the Mayan calendar is also the time length of the 6 loops of 78,000 years? Personally, I think not. And so this tells me whoever gave the Mayans the calendar was also giving them the time that we would be trapped inside the loops, and it was up to us to decode it. Now, it was decoded around 2013 and 2014 time and released parts of it in shows over time. But what popular New Age program has this very same symbol? Is said to be of peace and happiness, the figure 8 on its side and known as the Mobius loop. But the Mobius loop is not a free-flowing energy stream. It passes through an intersection where the void is, and it can be changed, flipped, reversed or siphoned depending on your perspective. And also the Mobius loop is defined only as a 2D representation of it, and it all looks flat and like a racetrack. But in the 3D intersection, it is elevated and tipped to one side, likely the west. And perhaps this can explain why it is said humans and angels alike fell. And so this is where I feel people are tricked with a 2D representation of the Mobius loop. And members in Utah, when I first wrote this, saw the 2D trick the moon and the sun plays also. But to acquire any flow of correct energy or frequency, you must have a clockwise motion to do so. How can you know or have a clockwise motion on a Mobius loop? Where is the beginning? Where is the end? What is up? What is down? What is east? And what is west? The answer is you can't. And the error is seeing it in a 2-dimensional format. And this is what has gone on within many alt media circles via New Age, religious, Wiccan, Druidic and Celtic circles. They have often reversed the flow and or the spell into something nefarious. Whether through lack of knowledge or by devious means, the result ends the same, and this is helping the dark forces. And in many cases, they reverse the spell of dark symbols being represented as light symbols and vice versa. And then we have the light and dark symbols. One is stating one is light and one is dark. The classic example being the yin and the yang. And most people view that as black and white duality, yet always miss the triality portion of it, as both sides create a whole and a ring around both, making yin and yang a circle, which binds them both. Is it the ring or the circle that binds? Just like the wedding ring. There is a reason they tell you to put the wedding band on a certain finger, the fourth finger of the left hand. Why? Because it is a bind. As that fourth finger on the left hand connects directly to the heart. And so the wedding ring binds the heart in essence. Just like the Lord of the Rings, which is now Rothschild's, formerly Solomon. And we'll see another ring that binds later in the show, it said at the time. And we'll have that later. The blue, red, black and green rings that many of the so-called famous people wear are all binding the people who wear them to the dragon groups and their reptile or serpent overlords that reigns above them particular groups. But yin and yang are also symbols of Rahu and Ketu, and both are dark forces' bodies. Not no more. But the true yin and yang is the balance. It is also a symbol of man and woman in sexual and relationship union, the 6 and the 9. And if outside of time, the circle is the source. And so one-on-one with the one. Final piece tonight, which is a continuation of the timepiece. And it is said that time is linear and only goes forward. But science has a habit of not revealing the truth, or they are blocked from learning or seeking the truth. But if you draw a horizontal line on a piece of paper, it can be seen as past, present and future. But there is an alternate line with which to travel and be, and that is vertical time. The linear timeline is Chronos time and is governed by locks of the sea, or sea locks, clocks, that is running as a marker in time. But each second is the now. You are never in the past or the future, only the now. Linear time is time to the trap. Time is timey to the Chronos. Timey to the loop's trap. But if you draw a vertical line in the middle of the horizontal line, that is vertical time, or real time, magic time, and no time. Real time because you are off of the Chronos-based conveyor belt of illusionary time. Magic time as you can see past and the future and then dictate time, which the dark forces have used for their own advantage and largely how magic works. Now people ask, how does magic work? It's not how it works, but when. But no time is then allowing you out of the matrix and a direct connection to source. Time is the bind, the shackles, the sea locks, and the control system. How is it you can have the phenomenon of time speeding up or slowing down if time is consistent? It can't, and that proves the illusion of time and the Chronos trap. But if you drew the diagram correctly, it would be a plus sign. On the left can be seen as the past, and on the right, the future. The future is what is yet to be manifested by us. We are the creators. The past can be observed by us to manifest a better and brighter future, free of the manipulation of time. But if you stand in the middle of the cross, you have a choice to make. Stay in the past or change and become the future? Well, it's all in the words again, you see. The term fear of change. And so if you fear change, you loop back to the left-hand path, the West Gate, and you are back to where you started in the loops. But with the loops now down, it does not guarantee they will stay that way. Remember, all have their own choices, and free will determines the path. It depends what is manifested by the individual. If you don't change, it keeps you in the loops, or the reincarnation loop, or the movie. Remember, old films were played on a never-ending reel. It went forward and then went back to the start again. Sound familiar? The difference this time is not all will be corralled into the never-ending past, as many of you have begun to see past the illusion. Those people will go on and create the new future, not immersed or absorbed into the past. You will be outside of time and no longer in the movie. You are now your own producer, director, and script writer. Standing still, which is the concept of no change, allows the Chronos linear timeline to move, and it will reach an event point and will repeat the past. Just like in 1919 there was a fake Spanish flu, and then 2019 fake COVID flu. Just like the IRA was in the 1860s and also in the 1960s. Just like the hippie movement was in the 1860s and the 1960s. His story always repeats until the lesson is learned. And so the key to your future is change. Change propels you onto the right-hand path, the East Gate, and into the future free of loops. As some go east, the few will go north onto the golden path and back to the realm of the gods. And being able to go to the vertical time allows you to make your choice easier, and that comes with self-mastery and mental plane abilities. You are able to see all perspectives, just like the prism, which is not the single point of light. The single point of light, which is frequency, which is information, only gives you one perspective of it. But if you go behind the point of light, you will see the 7 points of light, all from differing angles, and so you can observe the frequency or information from 7 levels. Or is it 7 planes of existence? So what is the cure to fix our loopiness? Embrace and be the change within yourself and with others who took the vertical path, which is the rise, not the fall. And this plays into the two worlds which we embrace currently, holding on to the failed old world enveloped with and by time, endlessly looping back and forth and wondering why things never change. It can't, because you haven't changed. And the fear of change is the fear of failure. And so people accept ever-reducing lifestyles and are ultimately slaves to time. Courage is what is required to change, and eventually you will make the leap of faith when that is presented to you on a personal basis. But to reach the leap of faith requires you to change and be bold, not hesitant, without courage, without belief, without trust in yourself and fear. Because if you overcome them, the grass is always greener on the other side. Limited only by your own lack of imagination. And we stand on the precipice of an extraordinary victory of light over dark. The timing of it doesn't truly matter. The point is, we have won the ultimate Armageddon battle. Their pathetic attempts to delay the inevitable is now being laid bare for all to see. Those that don't will never see. They were not programmed to do so. Think of the movie Extinction, and their AI gods will go down with them. Choose wisely your own path, as it's only your choice to make. But in the future, we will know for the first time in a very long time if we're evil or divine. We are the last in line. And with some believe in this, creation in time is a simulation. It's not. But some aspects have that feel to it. One has to ponder on our thoughts of what is source. And this is something I pondered on this week that adds to that piece. And it goes back to the one-on-one with the one, which plays out on multiple levels, not just the quantum system. But who or what is source? How do you access it? How widespread are people with access to it? The latter of which made me ponder. Now, we are all part of source. It is inside of us all. But you have to go within, not look up to the sky to access it. All of us have the capability to become a source for your own universe one day, providing your soul development has gone through the several levels of not only earth planes, but galactic and universal planes of development as well. Now, there are 7 planes of soul development for each level. All God or gods in our books were everyday beings who had developed enough to attain some of what appears to some as magical abilities. Now, some of it was trickery and some of it was technology, the ones that fell. But it was enough to fool the lower developed humans into believing that they were the God or gods. But there are many humans globally who have some of these extraordinary godlike abilities. Some use it for good purposes, and some fall to the dark alignments. And they end up eventually losing their abilities, but then dance with the unseen entities to carry the illusion on. And the question to ponder on is, if you cannot or struggle to gain access to the real source from a lower soul development level. And many humans are astral level and have little to no extra abilities. But what if the frequency those humans carry is too low to make the real frequency connection or spark to source? And what if those humans are then subject to an external source, which they are told is in the sky, and subsequently external of them? And what if that level of soul development's connection to source is the sky, and the veil, which is an electromagnetic fence, which was subsequently connected to the Saturn Moon Matrix frequency generator, and for those people, their God or source is actually an AI programmed to mimic source. But it's not the real source. And it's a bit like Project Bluebeam, where frequencies of light create a visual in the sky of an alien invasion. But to do that, you need a projection screen to make it realistic. What if the veil was that field of projection? And with the veil fallen, is that projection screen to do a blue beam no longer available? And people look up to the sky and pray, which frequency-wise generates a wave to then hit the veil. And the AI then mirrors a frequency back to you that people believe is God. And this is similar to the voice-to-head technology used on channelers and was largely ran by the Greys. And that is an AI-based system, and the AI records all human activity and then mimics its behavioural patterns. The fact the last one went psychotic suggests many here were of the same status, or it was interfered with. In the 100 series, they had an AI down as Ali, which is pronounced as a lie. But if you anagram it, it may become more significant. A lie rearranged becomes L and AI. As L, which means God, and then you have the AI. And maybe they told us all hidden in plain sight. And so the questions remain, can humans only connect to source via mental plane level development, which is blocked by a simulation level of traps called the astral, which contains an ultimate trap of mirroring being with God and peace called heaven. And it is a wonderful experience full of bliss, harmony, and you feel at one with the universe. But I quickly learned that was another of their astral simulation traps. And I believe the astral is the simulation. And many reports in dreams and also in daytime of being in a familiar place, but characters are out of place. Buildings in wrong places also. That is the astral, which is in part a copy of the physical creation, but it's not exact. And this also explains the Mandela effect as you dance between the two worlds at any given time, day or night, asleep or awake. Another way you can connect to source direct is with the ability to bilocate travel, not astral travel. The word astral travel is a spellcast. Astral travelling is word magic trap. You ask for astral travel, and that is where you end up. It's all about consent again. But if you bilocate outside of the Mobius loop and subsequently outside of time, then your connection to source is direct and not getting pulled in by an AI overlay mimicking being God. By bilocating outside of the loop and time, you bypass the system known as the matrix and become as one with the source original. Inside the matrix, your God is time. Ponder on that deeply. And time is ultimately a construct that you made up within your own mind. Remember, made up means invented or not true. So I decided, I made up my mind, and I ain't wasting no more time. And so here I go again on my own, going down the only road I've ever known. Because going on your own is the triality aspect of you. You decide and define for the you and what is best for the you. Because with time, you have seconded you by the second, made yourself minute by the minute, danced with Horace by the hours, worked for the entirety of the daylight hours, as a day is 10 to 12 hours, not 24. That all left you in a daze for several days. And by the time you get some time off, you are weakened by the weekend. And having been weakened by the weekend, you repeat the time cycle all over again. By the end of the month, you have completed a month cycle, which is periodically a time to bleed for a week, which is another blood sacrifice. You complete the months in quarters called seasons, but which seasoning are they adding to you? You then complete the year and wonder where the hell all the time went. It went where your focus and attention took it, based upon other people's decisions. But the end of the year creates a yearning for times in the past that is now declared the good old days. How can being old or dazed be declared as something being good, when your memory of time never recognised the good times, only the bad times? I have had a good time, people often say. Is that not a spellcast in overview? Perhaps it needs to be said, I had a good experience with no time attached. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. Bye for now.